They ruled from palaces etched into glaciers, where no warmth lingered, where the sun never dared more than a pale flicker. The Serics were sovereigns of frost and silence. Every word they spoke froze in the air, every law chiseled into permafrost. For millennia, they endured, emotionless, precise, unbending. Empires crumbled around them, civilizations faded like breath in the cold, but the Serics remained. Their thrones, carved from the heart ice of dying moons, symbolized their philosophy: stillness, control, isolation. When humanity arrived in their sector, burning through stars with laughter and chaos, the Serics took note, but not interest. They monitored humans the way glaciers monitor rainfall, aware but indifferent. Until one shuttle crash changed everything. The humans were scientists, barely more than civilians, en route to a deep field observation post. A miscalculated jump, a solar flare, a rupture, and they fell, down into the endless white of the Serics' homeworld, where no creature from the warmth had survived before. Their signal was faint, buried beneath ice storms. The Serics debated. Most voted for silence. But one, the youngest, barely 6 centuries old, watched the playback of the crash. She saw them huddled together, wrapped in each other, sharing breath and body heat, laughing even in fear. "What are they doing?" she asked the others. "Wasting energy," said the elder. But she was not so sure. She descended alone. The humans saw her silhouette first, tall, crystalline, barely distinguishable from the blizzard. They thought she was death at first, come in a beautiful shape. Instead, she knelt beside them, studied them. Her name was Viral, though the humans called her Vera. "Why are you still alive?" she asked. "We shared body heat," one woman said through chattering teeth. Snuggled like cavemen. The man beside her smiled. "It's the human way. Freeze alone, burn together." Viral didn't understand. But she helped them build shelter anyway. Not from their own wreckage, but from the nearby ice. She cut it with a gesture, shaped it into walls, then watched as they lit a fire inside, warming themselves with orange flames and old stories. She had never seen fire used that way. It wasn't weaponized. It wasn't harnessed for engines. It was comfort. She returned to the capital, told the council. They listened, then dismissed her. "Let them perish," they said. "We have watched thousands of species end." "But they lit a fire," she said, uncertain why that mattered. A primitive gesture. "But it reached me." They silenced her. So she went back, and stayed. She sat with them around the fire. They offered her tea, and when she said she could not digest it, they just smiled and poured her a cup anyway, for the ritual of it. They played music, showed her how sound could dance. She watched the flames, not just the heat, but the light. It flickered. It moved. It told stories across their faces. She touched her throne of ice in memory, and it felt colder than before. "Why do you smile so much?" she asked the human woman one night. "Because I remember why I hurt, and I'm glad to still be here." That answer didn't compute. So Viral stayed longer. She learned the shapes of their grief, the way they carried sorrow like scarves instead of scars. They made mistakes, and forgave them. They sang even when the storm howled. And Viral, ancient and vast, felt something crack deep inside. One night, the council arrived. Not with armies, but with curiosity. They entered the crude ice shelter, prepared to condemn Viral. Instead, they found her humming. And a child on her lap. A human child. "Why are you doing this?" the eldest asked, confused and almost angry. "Because I am warm," she said. "That is not our way." "Then perhaps our way is broken." The humans watched in silence. The council tried to take her back, to purge her of the fire she had gathered. But Viral refused, and others slowly, tentatively joined her. They came in ones and twos, not with proclamations, but with curiosity. And around the fire they listened. They laughed, awkward and brittle at first. They tasted stew, held hands, told truths never spoken aloud in the cold. And in time, days, months, years, the first throne of ice began to melt. Literally. One ruler dissolved it by choice. "It kept me still," he said. "I want to move." The symbolism shook their civilization. Thrones were sacred, eternal. But now they dripped, puddled, vanished. And in their place, fire pits, gardens, human books, blankets, children with names drawn from both languages. The Serics didn't become human, but they became something more than what they had been. They learned that survival wasn't merely enduring. It was connecting. That warmth wasn't weakness, but trust. That a flame, shared, grew stronger. One day, Viral stood in her people's new council chamber, no longer carved from glacial stone, but from living trees imported from Earth. She lit a candle at the center. Not for light, not for heat, but for memory. Once we ruled from ice, she said. Now we live in firelight, not because we lost power, but because we found something better. And across the galaxy, other icy hearts melted too. One fire at a time,